created the most frightening film ever made. Then, he took his unique vision of terror one step further. Now, George A. Romero takes us out of the night, beyond the dawn, and into the darkest day of horror the world has ever known. Day of the Dead.
There have to be survivors in Washington.
Oh, my.
They have more sophisticated shelters than this one. There have to be people in those shelters who know about us, who know where we are. With no radio contact, they'll come looking for us.
I said shut up! They can be tricked into being good little girls and boys. The same way we were tricked into it on the promise of some reward to come. What the fuck is wrong with you people? They're dead! They're fucking dead, and you want to teach them tricks?
They have to be rewarded, Captain. Why else will they do what we want them to do?
I don't want them to do anything but drop over! Those are my men in there! That's it. Run, you fucking lunatics.
George A. Romero's Day of the Dead, the most eagerly awaited day in horror film history.
Number 2, we are live.
Hello.
Hello. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Pretty good.
Ready for another week.
This is a second
of Buddy Shotz.
Second in a row Thursday, and then next Thursday will be another Buddy Shotz. And tomorrow we are going to be recording a very special podcast, audio only. But we'll leave that up to you guys to listen to when it comes out. I'll probably try to get it out Monday or Tuesday, like as soon as I can. But we're going up to Flashback Weekend for tomorrow, actually, and in Chicago,
yeah.
And we'll.
I hope nothing happens.
Me too. Jesus Christ. I hope nothing happens. It's like, Jesus! But yeah, that was kind of your idea, because you were wanting to, well, you said we should, let's do the podcast from the car, but I had already sent out all the, hey, we're doing it this day thing, so I was like, well, how about we do it about this instead, so,
yeah, I mean, just to
pass the time.
Because the drive from Cincinnati to Chicago is one of the most boring drives
you could
ever take.
Yeah, it's kind of like that in the drive to Indianapolis or something. It's like, we got a shout out here. Shout out to Leet Wheat, redeemed a Buddy Shot shout out. Thank you for watching.
Right. Shout out.
Shout out. Out shout.
I'm like, ah!
Leet Wheat. Excuse me. I do not have lung problems. So, enough of the preamble. Let's just get on to our first segment that we like to call Nerd News. Oh, man.
All right. Who should go first this time?
Well, you made me go first last time, so I'll make you go first this time.
All right. Mine is about the some late news related to the Lord of the Rings trilogy. From
It's late as
20
fuck.
years ago. Yeah.
Okay.
Even though those movies are 20 years old, there's still news coming out about them.
Oh, shit.
Because Dominic Monaghan said that the studio wanted to kill one of the hobbits during the movie.
like they hated him that much? Oh, okay.
Yeah, they wanted to kill one of the actors.
Fucking kill this hobbit!
And Peter Jackson was basically like, no, that's
Right.
doing the book. Like, why would we do that?
Yeah.
And he was able to, fight him off.
He's like, I don't care about it! Man, that's
like,
yeah.
I didn't kill that hobbit. I don't care.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, that's just so. That's so like, studio.
Like, this ain't your daddy's Lord of the Rings.
Nor
We're gonna put
Lord
the
of the
hobbits
Rings.
on skateboards and have them play electric guitars.
Probably would have been more interesting for the Hobbit if they did that. Actually, that movie had nothing to do with the actual like story, and had everything to do with like how they were like fuck using like practical effects like Lord of the Rings, and let's use like all CG.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's just like coming out now. That's just like something that's not really super shocking because of all the stuff you see with like studios interfering and stuff, and they do get their way. Like,
right.
The whole DC universe is just like one giant clusterfuck due to like Warner Brothers interference. And then of course, Space Jam The Next Generation or whatever the fuck it's called it's just the culmination of that. It's just like one huge corporate advertisement like trying to interfere where like they're not needed.
Well, thankfully that movie bombed, so maybe we'll
Lord of the Rings?
take a step in the right direction. No, Space Jam.
Oh. Why did it bomb? You be the judge. But it wasn't Lord of the Rings, and that's one of the reasons why. Oh shit, I just thought of something, like, I wonder if there are like some characters in like that Space Jam movie that like people actually like like that are in the background and now they're like cool. Actually, that's a stupid question. I'm sure there are.
Yeah. All the more reason to
go see it and buy HBO Max, right?
Neither.
So I actually have HBO Max just because I'm on like the plan with my brother, but other than that, yeah. Anyway,
just because you wanted to see Space Jam, I know the truth.
I actually haven't watched it yet. It's like a mild curiosity.
Don't waste your time.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch it eventually because it'll be pretty bad. It can't be any worse than Escape from LA.
Yeah, I can.
That's true. Escape from LA is pretty bad. Neil Blomkamp says that District 10 will be based on a topic in American history worth depicting in the sci-fi sequel. What a non-fucking article, if I say so myself.
That's cool they're making District 10, though.
Yeah, I've liked all of his movies, so...
Me too, a lot. Even Chappie.
Yeah, Chappie, I mean, I didn't think any of them were bad. I'm trying to think, like, what other movies he's made besides District 9, Chappie,
The one with Matt Damon, Elysium, something like that?
Oh,
I think
yeah.
those are the only three.
Yeah, they're always, like, movies where, like, the ending is, like, kind of, like, a weird, like, the people aren't gonna, like, I don't know, get out kind of shit. Possibly. But, yeah, it was good. I'm trying to think if there was anything else he did, but it's nice to know that I guess he's coming back to, like, District 9, because that was, like, the one thing out of all of those that I cared the most about, like, as far as, like, you know what I mean, like, the worlds, because it was set up so well, so I was like, come on, we gotta, like, because the ending is, like, such a, holy shit, what happens next kind of thing. Like, Chappie's ending was kind of like, okay, this can go, like, this can be over, and Elysium, same thing, but, like, yeah, District 9 was kind of definitely, like, something where it was a little bit bigger stakes, so,
yeah,
be interesting.
That's some cool nerd news.
That was actually kind of a joke one, but I guess there was something to talk about there. The real one was that John Carpenter says that there could be 2 more films that tell Snake Plissken's stories. That's why I brought up Escape from LA like it's a joke. because Escape from LA is a good fucking movie.
Now I get it.
Yeah. But yeah, like, Escape from LA, I guess, like, he was talking about how, like, he's a character that Kurt is passionately fond of. He convinced me to do the sequel. There's probably a third or maybe fourth story about Snake. I don't know if we'll ever make it, but I think that he deserves it. I'm like, yeah, that you probably should have done that like 20 years ago, but
Yeah, it may be a little bit late.
At this point, like, you could, yeah. Because
I would like John Carpenter to make one more movie to redeem himself from The Ward, because other than that, like, all of his movies are good to great.
Yeah, that The Ward, and I mean some of the stuff he did in like those what's it called, like the collections, wasn't the greatest, because he did that.
Well, those
like,
don't count. I don't count those. Masters of Horror.
Ah, yeah. Then you can just not count what's it called, The Ward then.
I try not to. I try to forget about it.
Cigarette Burns or whatever.
Yeah.
What was that even about? It was just
It was fine.
I don't know.
It was about, there was a snuff film of an actual angel, which was kind of interesting.
Makes sense. It's like, how the fuck is that possible? John Carpenter is like a master, like a master, like with coming up with like ideas and stuff. For sure. I think,
you're like, The Thing. How is that possible? There's no such thing as monsters.
Well, no, like, I mean, aliens are a little bit different than like angels as far as like, at least the way that they're portrayed. Angels and demons they're not like on the same plane as like aliens. Like an alien is just like a human from a different planet. An alien, or like
Prince of Darkness has demons in it.
An angel or a demon is unkillable, essentially, for the most part. You know what I mean? That's what I'm trying to say. Is like, not that they're unbelievable, but they're like a snuff film implies that they fucking kill it, which, like, to me, that makes zero sense. Do you get where I'm going with this, at least, or no? On
Yes.
principle.
It doesn't mean that you can't make a good movie about it.
I didn't say that. I just said it didn't make any sense. I thought In the Mouth of Madness was pretty bad too, but I felt like that was just
it's not one of the best.
Due to limitations of like how it's almost impossible to make like a H.P. Lovecraft movie like good. Usually they're pretty bad because either they show like the creature and then it's like not really, because you can't really show something that's supposed to like make people instantly horrified on screen, or it's just a bunch of like talking for like 90 minutes.
Yeah, I hope one day we can do full episodes on all of those movies.
Yeah, I mean, that's my plan,
dives.
is to like do every single one of these. I mean, even like The Ward and Cigarette Burns, I'd be interested in going back and rewatching and stuff, but at least at the moment, it's kind of like almost then I guess the premise for that would have made a better movie than like The Ward. Like The Ward was just like, really? This is what you're fucking doing? I don't know. Also, it's a good movie when like on the poster it says Carpenter proves he is still the master of shock. I'm like, okay, if you have to tell somebody fucking something, that means that it's probably not true. Like, I don't know.
I was shocked by how terrible it was. So, it shocked me.
Yeah. But there was actually, you remember how, like, we talked about, like, Day of the Dead, the TV series on, like, I think it was, like, the last Boy Scout episode we did?
Mm-hmm.
Did you see that trailer that they released recently?
No.
Dude, looks fucking horrible. Like, I was pretty excited, like, when I heard about it, because I really like, I really like it. Like, Day of the Dead, obviously, there's no surprise. We're going to be talking about it here in a bit, but, like, like, one of the lines from the trailer is some guy has 2 guns, and he says, "Damn, I feel like Deadpool right now." And I'm like, and before that it says, "Sci-Fi presents an ode to George A. Romero, the godfather of zombies." And I'm like, dude, this is just a sci-fi cheese bullshit movie with, like, George Romero. You know what I mean? Like, them using his, like, name to push it. And I'm like, I can't believe that the state, like, let that happen. I would have been like, fuck off.
It's pretty sad.
It also seems like they were saying that, like, it would have, like, before all this shit was shown, it was like, it's going to have ties to the original movie, and I don't think it is going to at all. So I think that, like, they might have, like, shown them a bill of goods, and, like, you know, that they thought was going to happen, and then switched it out. I guess somebody wanted to know, like, a Buddy Shotz topic discussions. Sir Gawain and the Green Knight looks great, in my opinion. What do you guys think? I actually don't know anything about that.
Cause I can't wait to see that. Like, that's one of my, like, most highly anticipated movies in a long time. It's like they finally made another fantasy movie. So it's like a...
Is that like... I thought that was... what's it called? Game of Thrones related because of the Green Knight or whatever?
No, I think it's based on, like, Arthurian.
Oh, okay.
But, yeah, Rider 89, I can't wait to see it, so I'm sure we'll see it and talk about it soon.
Huh. Yeah, I'd never heard of it. I guess I'll have to look into it. I think maybe hearing about, like, Green Knight, I kind of, like, looked over it because, like, after, you know, Game of Thrones shit the bed so hard, I just kind of am done with anything Game of Thrones related. But if it's literally just, like, a fantasy Arthurian kind of thing, that could be really, really good.
Yeah.
Nice.
Cool.
So, next on the docket is your favorite.
Recommendation Nation!
Holy shit, you didn't peek the mic this week. What the fuck are you doing? Matt.
I've been practicing.
What are you doing over there? You're not peeking the mic.
What are you doing with the customer's car?
What the fuck are you doing? Get off the customer's car. Stop peeking the mic. You're like, that one time when you were like, recommendation there! Like, fucking, like, you turned into a robot. It was like, yeah. I was like, arr. So, sir, what do you recommend?
My recommendation, Nation, for this week is, I'm really happy because, you know,
that's your recommendation.
I always say that, you know, they don't make good action movies anymore, but I keep getting proven wrong because there's another great action movie that came out this year called Wrath of Man, starring Jason Statham. Yeah, the premise is, like, Jason Statham at the beginning of the movie, he joins, like, a security company.
Holy shit, it's got Scott Eastwood in it. Like,
yeah.
He looks just like his dad. What the fuck? Sorry.
He's the villain, and he's actually pretty good. But he joins a security company that's responsible for, like, transporting cash in armored cars.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, he has to take an entrance test for, like, marksmanship and physical fitness and stuff, and, like, he barely passes, but he ultimately makes it in, and you're like, wait a minute, this is Jason Statham, like, how could he barely pass, you know, these tests? But you find out that he was faking, and he's, like, actually the Terminator. Like, as he always is, he's like an unstoppable killing machine.
Right.
And over the course of the movie, you find out, like, why.
Like, so why he had, like, kind of, like, played dumb or, like, you know, faked his shit.
Yeah.
Is it
great action movie?
Is it better than Law-Abiding Citizen's ending, where, like, some dude is kind of playing bullshit and then, like, he ended up getting fucked anyway?
Yes.
Okay. The only reason why I brought that up is because that movie actually was on TV yesterday, and, like, I will watch like 5 seconds of it, and it's like, man, I'm gonna get pissed watching this movie. Great movie, but I mean, there's so many great things about it, but, like, they just they went the safe, predictable bullshit way with it. It just pisses me off.
Check out our back catalog episode on Law-Abiding Citizen to hear all about it.
Where I just shit on it. Yeah, that sounds really good.
We talked we
talked
about how great it was the entire time until the very end. And like,
that actually is kind of funny because sometimes when we like a movie, or we'll be like at the end we'll be like, yeah, it's a great movie, but the whole time we spend shitting on it.
Right.
Where that movie, like, we talked it up, and then at the very end I was like, fuck this movie because the ending is, this or that, and it was like, damn, dude.
Yeah, Wrath of Man. Who is that man?
Wrath of Man, huh? Well, I actually have a bizarro fucking a not recommendation. Stay away from this fucking product I'm about to talk about. Because I was going to do a recommendation at the beginning, but after playing this game for like 2 hours and getting a refund on Steam, I have to like let people know that like the trailer that they present is not what the game is. So, Tribes of Midgard is like a game that was supposed to kind of be like another like Terraria, Minecraft, like you get on a server and everybody works together, craft stuff, levels up like Diablo, but it actually is not like that at all, and it plays like a roguelike, and it's more like a tower defense game. So, like, your shit doesn't persist, and it's like, it's kind of like, I don't think they did it maliciously, but they didn't, like, fully, they kind of perpetuated what people thought about it by saying nothing. And it has, like, mixed reviews, and it literally just came out, like, a day ago. The game itself plays fine, but, like, it's just kind of like oh, that's funny because they've actually, like, updated the shit on it. Because before it didn't say it was a roguelike on their page, now it does. So I think a lot of people, like, complaining got refunds. But Tribes of Midgard, I think if, like, they put time into it and, like, have more persistent shit in it, like, from session to session, it'll be an interesting game. But right now, I would say, unless you're looking for literally, like, a huge multiplayer session to session game, like, stay away from it. So...
yeah, I'm watching the trailer right now, and it looks fine. But
yeah, I mean, that's the thing, is it's fine, and it plays fine. It's just not what they kind of advertise. Like,
yeah.
I thought it was going to be also more like Diablo, where, like, you have all the classes unlocked, and when you get into the game, you only have 2 of them unlocked, and you have to do these, like, things to unlock them, which is fine, but they don't say that anywhere in the shit. They just say, hey, check out all these classes. And then you get in the game, and they're not unlocked, and it's like... okay. The good thing is, though, you don't have to spend any extra money on the game, so that is a plus. It's just, I think for a lot of people, it wasn't the game that, like, they were looking for. You know what I mean? So, and that's not kind of like to shit on the people making the game. They made a good game. It was just not the game that was advertised. So,
it's a shame.
Yeah. Like I said,
recommendation.
Yeah, I think that if they, like, get around to maybe doing more persistent stuff with it, it'll be a good game. But right now, maybe, like, don't. It's only $20 though, but just don't fuck around with it. So, okay, well, that was an unrecommendation nation for me. So, let's move on to the weekly topic. What is the weekly topic? Do you know?
George A. Romero's Day of the Dead.
What does the A stand for? Asshole?
Arthur.
Are you fucking serious? I was about to say Arthur before asshole.
It's because we were just talking about King Arthur.
Oh yeah, true. Do you know what it is?
No, I don't. Should have asked him. Met him.
Well, too late now. Because he's dead, sadly.
What?
Yeah, I'm trying to find out what his middle name stands for.
It's Andrew.
Did you just find that, I guess, I'm assuming?
Yeah.
I think you found it right when I did. Yeah. Andrew. That's probably why.
That's the kind of hard-hitting info you're going to get on the Buddy Shots.
I wonder if that's why he, like, kept his thing George A, because George Andrew Romero isn't as cool as George A. Romero. Because, like, any name in the middle, it's, like, better if it's, like, kind of a secret. So we just fucked him. No disrespect to the master, or the godfather of fucking zombies, as he likes to put it. Or other people do, and then he just repeats it. So what is this movie, Matt? I'll tell you. Day of the Dead is a 1985 American post-apocalyptic zombie horror film written and directed by George A. Romero, which like never happens nowadays. It's usually like you sent me that thing off Space Jam and there was 15 writers.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my god. And produced by Richard P. Rubinstein. The third film in Romero's Night of the Living Dead series. It stars Lori Cardille. I'm fucking this up. Lori Cardille, Sarah, Terry Alexander, John, Joseph Pilato, Rhodes. I had to add to this because there was no way in hell I was going to leave out certain people. Jarlath Conroy, McDermott, Gary Howard Klar, Steele, Richard Liberty, Logan, Dr. Frankenstein, and Sherman Howard, Bub. So, there are definitely other actors in this film, because there's not, like, honestly a huge, like, cast of actors, but, like, those are kind of, like, the main players in this movie. So, zombies rule the world, except for a small group of scientists and military personnel who reside in an underground bunker in Florida. The scientists are using the undead in gruesome experiments, much to the chagrin of the military. Finally, the military finds their men have been used in the scientists' experiments and banish the scientists to the caves that house the living dead? What? I mean, that kind of happens, but unfortunately the zombies from above ground have made their way into the bunker. That's like a very loose, like, explanation of what happens in the movie, but yeah. That's all I have to say about the movie.
Yeah, so this is a movie that we saw for the first time back in high school.
I don't remember when I saw this movie, honestly.
We
like,
watched
for the
it
first
after
time.
school, remember?
I don't remember it, honestly. I do remember watching it, but I remember, like, not liking it all. But I also, like I said, I if I saw it with other people, it might have been one of those things where it was like a group shit on kind of deal.
I think it was.
Because I didn't own the film, like... So it was like
we rented it
I probably
at, like, Hollywood Video.
Yeah, it's like rented it, or like, because there was also times when we saw movies with like at our other friend's house, like Kyle, and if he like was shitting on a movie, we would probably just go along with it. But was it literally just the two of us or something, or
no? I think it was a group.
Okay.
But it was so like upsetting and depressing and like horrifying. Mm-hmm. It was just when it was over, I think we were all like, ugh, that was rough.
Yeah.
And on top of that, at the time, just like Siskel and Ebert, I was like, man, there's so much overacting in this movie. Like, everyone was just screaming the whole time, which is kind of true, but that's what makes it good.
Yeah, I didn't, like, ever watch Siskel and Ebert, so, like, to me, I was never influenced by, like, them at all. I think my thing was, like, before seeing this movie, Dawn of the Dead was such, like, a superhero comic book, like, popcorn kind of film. You know, it's got everything you could ever want for, like, whereas, like, yeah, like Dawn of the Dead and stuff like that, like, is like such an upbeat, like, fun movie to watch. You could put it on and just kind of fuck around, whereas, like, this film, if you put it on and, like, fuck around, you're gonna, like, miss stuff, you know what I mean? And, like, because most of this movie is, like, dialogue.
Well, yeah, and everything you see is going to be like some of the most horrific things ever shown in a movie.
Yeah, I mean, like the gore and stuff is pretty gross and stuff, but I've seen like way worse as far as like I think that like a movie like Hostel or like Human Centipede is way grosser and disgusting than a movie like this, because a movie like this, I think it's like if you go into it, I think if you haven't seen it before, I could see that, but if like you have seen this movie, you know what you're getting into, because it's all zombie stuff, and like the deaths are really, really like gruesome and stuff. But at this point, everybody's like kind of like looking for that shit. At the time, that wasn't a thing. There was no like Greg Nicotero had moved on to like Walking Dead now, where he's like that's his thing, is like seeing how the zombies can be killed in gross ways, or like weird, you know, different zombies and stuff, or like seeing how people can be killed and stuff. It was like this and Dawn were like the start of that, with like, you know, the gross stuff that happened in like The Thing with like shit just, you know, things that aren't supposed to happen are happening, and you're like, dude, this is fucking out of control. More than anything.
Yeah.
Like,
So
holy
then.
fuck.
Yeah, definitely. But a few years later, like there was this awesome DVD like special edition.
Yeah.
Released.
Anchor Bay.
It was called. Yeah, it was called like Divimax, which is like digital video to the max. But I was like, all right, I'll pick that up and give it a second chance. And then me and Ben watched it like at college, and we're like, whoa, this movie's actually amazing! Holy cow!
Yeah, I think I got mine around the same time at like Best Buy or something.
Yeah.
Because Best Buy actually used to like sell movies for pretty cheap, surprisingly, but now they don't really do anything like that. But then again, yeah, you don't like. There's only a couple companies doing that nowadays, like re-releasing films physically in like good versions. Like Scream Factory is kind of taking that over. I don't know if Anchor Bay is really a thing anymore. They might be, but like
I'm not sure.
They're kind of the people who do that now and get new special features on stuff. And then like Arrow Media is another one, but they're like a UK company. So yeah. What do you think?
So overall, this movie's amazing. It's a classic,
Yeah.
And I think by now it's like well respected by people who like horror movies. So.
I agree. I think for the longest time, I mean, even today, like most people will say that like Dawn of the Dead is like the, you know, preeminent George A. Romero film, but like, I think it's kind of like people that like watch the Three Stooges, like people that like have been watching them long enough for like Larry to become their favorite Stooge. It's like, you know what I mean? Like they're kind of like the people that have gone to like their own section and they see like what keeps it together. I don't know, like Day of the Dead for me is like a film that like I love Dawn, but like for me, I think Day is like, I like the music in Day of the Dead even more than I like the music in Dawn of the Dead.
Oh yeah.
So like
amazing.
I think a lot of people were kind of like, you know, since Goblin wasn't in Day of the Dead, they were like thrown off by that, but like and I could see how that would be a thing, because like Dawn of the Dead like kind of set the precedent, and that was like a thing that like everybody expected, and especially because like there wasn't a lot of time between like, you know, realistically between Dawn and Day, considering, you know, how much time you would have to wait between Day and Land, like
yeah.
And they were kind of coming out like every 10 years or so, like, you know,
Right.
you know, Night, Dawn, and the Day. But then there was like a long period where there was none. But like some people, I guess, were kind of like, well, you know, Dawn is going to be how it's going to be. So when Day came out, and it was like, honestly, like Day is more like the original Night than it is like Dawn, because like Night is pretty, you know, dialogue heavy, and also like very at the end of the day it's very like you know, depressing. So
So this is your favorite of the series if you had to pick?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is like my favorite George Romero film, regardless, for sure. Like,
yeah,
and it's probably like my favorite like zombie film too. Like, I really like Shaun of the Dead, but I'd have to say this is my favorite zombie film, just because like George Romero's always like understood what makes zombie films good, and it's not like the zombies, it's like the people, because obviously it's like zombies are a part of it. Like, you know, if the zombies look like shit, then, you know, or they're like boring, or like, you know, they don't have anything really to them. Like, I mean, yeah, the original ones, I guess they just like moan and like walk around and stuff, but like he always put them in like interesting, like they were actually people before they became zombies, you know. They weren't like all like dudes that like just had shredded up clothes and stuff. Like, you'd have some guy walking around in like swimming trunks, or like a band member, or like a Hare Krishna in like Dawn of the Dead or something, you know. Like, they were actually people before they became
or a clown
zombies.
in this movie,
Right, yeah. But it's like just all kinds of stuff like that where, like, you don't know how long these people have been zombies or, like, where they came from. So, like, they could have came from, you know, the ones in Florida could have came from, like, New York or, like, you know, a different country. You know, they could have been on a plane and then it could have crashed and they could have just died on the crash and came out as, like, I mean, probably not a clown, but, you know, like, it's just interesting because, like, usually zombies are like, hey, they're just, you know, we didn't have the budget, so we literally just threw fucking, like, ripped up clothes on, like, jeans and, like, a shirt on this guy, and that's a zombie, you know, like, and, like, painted him. But, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and then, like, the characters are always, like, the humans are always what end up fucking everything up. You know, it's never like the zombies, because they're so slow that you can generally, unless you let them, like, overwhelm you, like, in most of these movies, they show that you can just kind of walk right by them. It's when the people get, like, cocky, like in Dawn of the Dead, when, like, I think it's, like, Roger gets cocky and he gets bitten, or, like, you know, in this movie,
it's
like...
It's almost like man is the true monster.
It isn't like it. It is. Oh, wait.
Oh.
It almost is. It is. So, yeah, I don't know. I've talked for a bit. What are you going to say? Or what do you have to say?
What are you going to say?
What are you going to say? I've been talking for a bit. What are you going to say about it?
If I had to pick my favorite, it would still be Night of the Living Dead, but, like, I love all three of the originals. It's like, they're all at the highest level of quality in my mind. Like, they're all amazing in their own way. So, Day of the Dead, like, it's amazing. Like,
yeah.
I think that the effects in this movie are like the best of all time.
Yeah, I mean, they had
maybe The Thing would be like a close second place.
Well, it's like they had Greg Nicotero like working on this, and I think The Thing too, and right?
Tom Savini.
Tom Savini as well. So it's like,
yeah,
you know, those. I mean, like, Tom Savini, I think, is kind
Nicotero's first movie.
He's kind of like retired. I think Tom Savini from doing that. He probably still does stuff maybe here and there, but like, Greg Nicotero is now the guy that's like literally he's like taking over the Walking Dead kind of stuff. So you can tell that, like, you know, the zombies, but I mean, you know, if they don't do CG bullshit, like it's top notch in that show. You know what I mean? Like, the zombies are always like the highlight of that show. So like, and this is where he was like cutting his teeth with, like, you know, under Tom Savini. So it's like, yeah, you just can't get, you know, anybody better doing the effects for sure. Like, and it's like they still hold up. It's like pretty fucking out of control in the way that it, like, things hold up, and, like, you know, nothing in this movie seems like cheesy or anything as far as like effect wise.
Right, they definitely hold up. But more importantly, like, I love some of the characters and like the performances in this movie, especially Joe Pilato. Like, he should have won an Oscar for this. Yeah,
well, Ebert like shit all over him and he like cried.
Well, that's the thing. I listened to the.
I felt so bad about that.
Yeah, and they referenced Siskel and Ebert in the commentary, and they were like,
yeah,
like they said we were overacting the whole time, and George Romero's like, I didn't think so.
Yeah.
Just pretty much like, they're wrong.
Yeah, I think I've listened to the commentary probably like 10 times, like both the cast, and then they also have one for like the film historian guy. And it's just like, yeah, it's really like you hear a lot of like awesome stuff about the film and the process, and I just feel bad because it's one of those things where, like, under different circumstances, like, I feel like it's kind of like with I think we talk about this all the time, but like Joseph Pilato should have been up there with like other huge actors the same way that, like, you know, Bruce Campbell, and like, you know, Bruce Campbell has a lot more success now, you know, like, you know, a lot more people know who he is, but like also like you know, Brad Dourif, like the guy that plays the Doctor on Voyager, like
totally.
and freaking
I agree.
what's his
Robert
face?
Picardo?
Yeah, Robert Picardo, and the guy that's in the Reanimator.
Jeffrey Combs.
Yeah, Jeffrey Combs. It's like all these
I
people.
agree.
It's like they deserve more than, like, they're known for awesome stuff now because people watch this shit and they're like, you know, holy shit. But like, yeah, I feel like the
But don't get
Doctor
me
too
wrong,
is
like,
really good.
He is hamming it up in this movie like so hard, but that's that's good.
His character is
cool.
unhinged.
Yeah, like that's what makes that's what makes it fun to watch.
Yeah.
Is he your favorite character in this movie?
Rhodes. I don't know. I always like pivot between a couple people in this movie. Like for the longest time, Rhodes was like definitely my favorite character in the film by far. But
Awesome.
but like on like subsequent watchings, like Bub will sometimes be my favorite. Frankenstein. Sometimes I like think he's my favorite. And
Well, before we talk about since you mentioned Bub, the you know what that actor is also famous for besides Bub?
Scrub.
He's the guy who had the junior mint fall into him on Seinfeld.
I don't know if I've ever like seen that episode.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I'm not like a huge Seinfeld guy. Like I watched it back in the day, but I was never like, well, you know, I didn't watch every episode or anything.
Oh, okay. That was like a famous episode where they drop a junior mint into like his open heart surgery.
Oh, okay. Well, if you're a Seinfeld fan, keep an eye out for Bub. He's in it. Did he live or die?
I think he lived, but he got pretty sick.
Oh, okay.
Like Jerry and Kramer were morbidly interested in like watching a surgery, and they thought it would be really fun, and they brought like junior mints.
Did they like dress up as doctors or?
No, they were in like the operating theater area, you know, where you like some people can watch surgeries happen.
I didn't know that was still a thing.
Who knows?
So yeah, no, I didn't know that. I do know that, like, I don't know, like, to me, like, I still regret that I wasn't able to, like, get into this movie early enough to be able to, like, go to a convention to, like, meet all these people, because, like, Joseph Pilato has, like, passed away since this, and, like, I never got to, like, meet him or get, like, a autograph with him or anything, or, like, tell him how much, like, I appreciated his, like, opinion and how much, like, all the people that like said that, you know, the movie was bad, like they were wrong and stuff, or like, you know, because I mean I got to meet George Romero and I told him like it was my favorite of the, you know, of his films, and he like said it was his as well, and like even though like he could be lying, I know there's multiple things where he said that on record that like Day was his favorite of the original three or whatever.
He says it in the commentary. So
like I'm assuming he wasn't bullshitting me, but like at the same, you know, he's a nice guy, so at least he seemed like one. Speaking of which, like, not to like crap on like the ones he did after that, but like I feel like Land was pretty okay for me. Like I liked it, but like it was too not like Romero films for me. Like I felt like it was like it was a big budget kind of deal, but like I don't know, like I liked it, but I also I've seen it like not a ton. Like I don't know. They kind of took like some of the stuff about like Day, like the Bub character, and like brought it over into that movie, but I don't know. It was an interesting thing, and Dennis Hopper is always awesome because he's in that movie. And so is like Luigi Mario, but like I don't know. And then like
it's good. It's good.
Diary and
But
like
you can tell the budget, like the studio interfered with it, and the budget is probably too big for George to comfortably handle.
Right. That's I think I think it's kind of like yeah, because like Diary and like what's it called, Survival, is that what it was? Like those two to me were like I didn't even feel like those were like made by George Romero. Like they were just so, I don't know, they just didn't feel like they felt like modern day horror films that like didn't really need to be made, to me at least.
I think they're good. They're not amazing like the first three, but I think there's enough Romero touches in there to make them worthwhile.
Yeah, we'll have to disagree on that one then. All
right.
So I feel like, to me at least, this is the last time that he really made like a really, really good one. But it's also at the same time there were like how many years between Day and like Land? You know what I mean? It's like, I'm sure he wanted to make another one, but it was like, I remember there were so many things where he probably didn't want to go through the whole thing that happened on this movie where like he was going to make this movie and then they were like, hey, if you want to do all this like nasty shit on it, we're going to cut the budget in like half. And they had like $3 million instead of like the $8 million or some shit to make this film. So that's why it was like, hey, well, I guess now we're going to have to like film all of it in this abandoned salt mine. Like,
yeah, and actually, I read the original script, which is one of the few scripts I've ever read in my life.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was cool, but it's hard to think like how anything could turn out better than Day of the Dead actually turned out. You know, I think the budget limitations almost always make for a better movie.
Well, yeah, I mean it's because this was literally supposed to be like Land of the Dead for the most part, and that's like,
yeah, they had like whole like they were training armies of zombies, and there's like zombie army battles and stuff like that, which I mean sounds amazing, but
but it's like that didn't even happen in Land, so it was like,
right.
I feel like that's an interesting premise, and I thought like that's possibly what was going to happen in Land, and then Land was just kind of like retreaded the same water that like Day already did better for me, like, and that's probably why I was kind of disappointed in it, because like by that point, like, you know, I think they even had a scene where like Bub was like a fucking like slave or some shit, like they put him on a wall and they were like whooping his ass or something. And I was like, okay. It's like, oh, there you have it. It's like, shouldn't he be like the leader at this point, because he's like figured this shit out in the 80s? He was so smart that he fucking got captured and they started slapping his ass. Maybe he's a masochist. He killed Rhodes and he was just like, puts a ball gag in his mouth.
Bub is a stub.
Yeah. Puts a ball gag in his mouth and he's like, oh! So I'm going to go ahead and just start at the beginning, because we've talked about this for a while, but I'm going to start at like the beginning of my notes with talking about how like, we had already, I don't know if we specifically talked about how, like, I think we did, but like the dialogue is probably like among the best in horror film, like any horror film, let alone like just a film in general.
Yeah, well, I think that's true with most of Romero's movies. Like, he's just a great writer, period. Like, no better example than Day of the Dead.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I think that, like, I'm trying to think of, like, anybody else in the horror genre that does it better than him as far as, like, making it interesting. Like, with the characters, he's at least.
One of the smartest, filmmakers.
He just kind of so happens to make horror movies.
Yeah.
But, like, they're movies that could be made in any genre, but, like, they just so happen to be in, like, zombie apocalypses, because like the characters are just so like, likable. I mean, you could take Rhodes and put him in any situation and he wouldn't be the same person because of like his circumstances have led him to that point. Like, yeah, he was probably an asshole before, but then again he could have not been, and then this led him to that. You see how some of the other people, like Miguel in this movie, is legit at the start of this movie already about to fucking go like a crack, because he's like
turn mad.
he's about to turn into a man. He's already turned into a man. But
what do you think of the opening of this movie? Because it's my favorite part of the whole movie, like by far.
I don't think it's my favorite, but I really like it.
It's so amazing.
It's definitely, you can tell, especially after knowing the circumstances with this film, that like these are all pickup shots, because it's like when he moved to like living in Florida, he's got like these that he filmed, and then of course we were talking about how like the salt mines is where they filmed most of the movie in like near Pittsburgh or whatever. So like it's like a seamless thing though, if you didn't know that, because like they don't like like when they like pan up or whatever, like when they're going into the salt mines, they're literally just showing the sky, and it just matches it's sky, so it matches the same color as any sky. So they just had to get like a cloudless sky, and fucking they filmed it, and they do such a good job of like the seamless part of it. So if you didn't know, it's such a great thing though, because it's like it shows the paper, like the dead walk, and like there's actually a couple other things that it says on there that I like have for later that like I had to look up to see what they said and stuff. But like but yeah, I really like this opening scene, like for sure. It's not like, it's hard for me to say it's not my favorite, because I don't think there's a scene in this movie that I don't like equally. So it's like it's awesome at, it's like scary, it's haunting, and it's like in the day, and it's showing you at what, like where everybody is at this point. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, and you realize like they're totally like it's over.
Right.
They're screwed. Because like zombies start coming out of the woodworks, and like there's an alligator crawling around, and
yeah,
one of the zombies has a tarantula on him for some reason, just to be extra scary.
Yeah. It's like his fucking pet or something.
What's scarier than a zombie? A spider on a zombie.
Yeah, which to me would be like, after knowing more about tarantulas, like they probably wouldn't do anything to you, because they like are more scared of you than you are of them. Like they usually run away, so like that means that was like a trained tarantula.
Right.
On a zombie.
Or maybe he was like driving the zombie.
That's true. Oh, you know what I was actually just thinking? That's probably the trainer, the guy that owned him. What they made into a zombie. No. That's pretty funny, because otherwise it would have just been some random dude that was like, ah! He's like, fuck!
But do you know the real reason why I love this scene?
Because McDermott says Jesus, Mary, and Joseph 50 times.
Well, yes, but also because once all the zombies like are like amassing in the city,
yeah,
you hear the ultimate moan.
From you? No, yeah, it's
like they show the whole city, and like all you hear is like the ultimate moan.
To me, the scariest part of that though isn't that part. It's when they're trying again on the thing, and the
it's
one
like, hello.
Oh, that guy, fucking Miguel. Hello.
Hello.
He's like McDermott's trying to raise people, and he's like, "Forget it, Billy boy," and then you actually hear like the huge moan all the way back where they are. Like you can hear like all of them
like, from across the whole city.
And then like the music comes in, and you're like, and that's also one of those things where it's like, you see that like once they start coming out and amassing, like Sarah just stays there for a bit because she knows that they're never going to be able to catch up to her. Like, you know what I mean? So she's just like, well, everybody's fucked here. And then, it's not like, I think that's one thing that I don't like about like zombie movies sometimes. And like even back then and even today is like, if that was a zombie movie made today, they would have like had one jump out of nowhere and like try to attack her. Like, instead of just being
it's
like,
not about the jump scares,
right? Well, not only that, but it's like they're so slow that like she would have never been caught off guard by one. You know what I mean? Like, unless it was kind of like at the end of this movie where like they're fucked because they're overrun. Because zombies aren't scary because it's like their mass, like the number of them is the problem, not like But
you know what makes it even more scary is this movie takes place on Halloween, the scariest day.
Yeah, that is true. Is this the scariest Halloween movie? Besides Halloween? there's a dude growing pot at the beginning of this movie, which was kind of surprising because to me it's like they need to be giving some of that pot to fucking Rhodes.
Yeah, calm him down.
Yeah,
Like,
Jesus.
mellow out, dude.
He's like fucking going insane.
He's at like 11 at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is like he's insane, and so is Dr. Frankenstein, but they actually can communicate. Like Dr. Frankenstein is the only person that can like essentially tell Captain Rhodes to like shut the fuck up because he's like he talks to him and like Frankenstein or like Rhodes is like okay, you know, like he kind of understands, like, and he like tells him what he wants to hear. Like Logan would never kill someone. I mean, he does stuff once they're dead to them, but like at this point that's not a big deal. But like Rhodes is willing to kill someone that's alive, which is like that's fucked up. Like especially because he's like, I want to kill all these fucking pus buckets, and you're like, if you start killing people, they're just gonna be more of them. But I had a note here that says, you know, like Steel and like Rickles are like Bulk and Skull in this movie. Like they're totally out of control, like Bebop and Rocksteady, like idiots. But it's like they work so well.
The perfect henchman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like Rickles is like he's almost kind of like the Joker in this film. He's like laughing all the time, and he's even laughing when he gets killed at the end of this movie. He's like, ah! Ah! And I'm like, what? Like, I think
that makes it kind of disturbing.
Yeah, I think like that's the thing is where like, most of the people in this film are pretty much like fucked in the head. Like, it would hard not to be when you see like all of your comrades and stuff dying and like the situation you're in. And there are a couple people that are more level-headed than others, but like you see like Dr. Logan has become like totally obsessed with his work, and he's like doing anything and everything to like advance his, you know, research, where like Rhodes is trying to keep order and like his totalitarian control or whatever over everything. And it's like Rickles and like Steel are doing what they're told, and they're not as crazy as Rhodes. It's just like, and then there are people scattered in there, like the one scientist guy that's got the glasses, he's kind of normal, and then like some of the military people are normal, but they're like too scared to stand up to Rhodes when he like threatens one of their lives. You know what I mean? It's like fucking out of control. This is something, I think this is something like I quote a lot, and I like that Miguel says early in the movie, where he's like, you made me look like an asshole out there. You made me feel like a piece of shit. I don't know. I like this. I like Miguel, but I've never like really. He's never gonna be my favorite character.
He's like the ultimate sad sack.
Yeah, like I feel so bad for him because like I feel like there was a point in his life that he like became a military person, but like obviously, but I don't think it was something he ever wanted to do, because the rest of them, like, you know, well, you know, are kind of like made for it, whereas he's like someone that like would probably be more of a scientist, or like a, I don't know, like if given the side, being a scientist would be something closer to what he's best at, because he can't handle doing, like, he gets like frightened by looking at the zombies and stuff, even at this point. So it's like, he shouldn't be doing anything, and like she even says to Rhodes like he needs to be taken off like duty, and he's like, sorry, can't spare him, and it's like he ends up being the fucking thing that fucks everything up, and that's all thanks to like Rhodes, you know, not listening and wanting to just be an asshole. And it's like, dude.
Yep. What do you think of the like mine location of
it's probably my, I mean, I can't say it's better than Dawn of the Dead, because I'm gonna watch Dawn of the Dead right after this, I think, because I just thinking about like the fucking mall, it's so iconic. Like, I mean, even
so good.
What's it called, what's that called with like Frank West, the zombie game that like Capcom made, like Dead Rising.
Dead Rising.
Yeah, they had that whole thing where they copied that, where you're like in a mall. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's iconic. Having said that, like, Night of the Living Dead made like farmhouses iconic for Defense Against Zombies, you know, malls, and this is so iconic because it's like, it's safe, but you're like trapped underground. So it's like,
it's not safe. There's zombies everywhere.
Well, no, I mean, not really. Like, they've got them held off, like, until stuff goes south.
Yeah, but they're close enough, like, you can hear them moan. You can hear moans.
Yeah, but it's not that. It's not, I mean, it's the same thing with, like, the mall. You know, you can hear them, too, outside. I'd say this is safer because, like, if they're not going to be able to get past the gate they put up, and they're not even trying because, like, as, like, I think it's like Rickles says, like, early on, he's like, when they're trying to corral them, like, they don't want to come up because they've started to learn that, like, the ones that get taken don't come back because Dr. Frankenstein, like, Logan, like, destroys them. And, like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So they're, like, it's not like they're, like, in Dawn of the Dead where they're, like, always pounding on the windows and trying to get in and stuff. Or, like, you know, surrounding the place. It's like they're actively staying away, you know, downstairs at least. So, like,
I think that this location is like one of the most amazing like places I've ever seen in a movie.
Yeah, I would love to go to it if you could. I don't know.
I read Roger Ebert's review, and he was like praising the location for Dawn of the Dead, and then he's like, this time around, the action is in a visually dreary location, and like I could not disagree more. Like, this thing is amazing to look at, and it's like the scariest place I could ever imagine being in, you know?
Yeah.
Even without zombies.
No, I agree. I don't know. I don't want to like shit all over like Siskel and Ebert because I watched their like review and then I like read their because I generally don't watch any of their stuff and like because I'll let you come on and tell me what they said about it. But I had to know because this is one of my favorite movies, so like I watched their little snippet on it, and then I like went and read Ebert's review of it, and it's just like there are times when I kind of agree with what they say, more so Siskel, because Ebert's usually like off the mark for me in some way or another. But like it was so weird that like he could be so on point with Dawn of the Dead and then be so off the point. But as you said, like, right. You know, when we first watched it, we didn't really like it either, but like I think that's the thing is like we did go back and watch it and we saw what we missed on it, whereas like he either never took, you know, like another look at it because he's a movie critic and I guess he didn't have the time, but like I guess I can't fault him too much for it, but like the stuff that like he shits on the movie for, I never had an issue with. Like, I think I just had an issue with it maybe being, like going off of Dawn of the Dead, not being as, like, you know, comic book popcorn fun to watch, at the time, at least. Because now, like, I find this more fun to watch than almost Dawn because of the performances and stuff, but, like, not that the performances in Dawn are bad at all, but, like, in this movie, it's, like, that's all there is. Like, you know, it's, like, the zombies are awesome, but it's all, like, a character study. Whereas, like... Yeah, like, you know, like like with him saying that like this is a boring location, like that was never something I thought when I first watched it. Like I thought that was one of the things that was awesome about it was the mine and the mine. I'm like hello, and like you know Rhodes and like all the other characters. I never like. I don't know if I've ever been like, this movie was overacted. Like, to me, like, underacting is the thing that pisses me off.
I thought so. The first time I was like, well, I was not ready for the acting to be, like, so out of control. And it threw me off, but now I love it.
See, that's I like, look at movies and I'm like, there is no such thing as, like, because I would rather have somebody, like, quote-unquote, overact, which I don't really even know what that means. Like, maybe, like... go to one way or another with a character, or because like the opposite is what like where you have like somebody that like
Will Smith in After Earth,
right, where they don't have a personality, like
yeah, it's so boring.
So like to me like I don't know, like, and it's also hard for me to say someone's a bad actor like if somebody is literally, like, say it's your, like, mom or your dad that you just are filming, and they're not a trained actor, and they're, like, they're bad at it because they're not, that's not their thing, I could see someone saying, oh, yeah, that person's a bad actor. But it's, like, you can't blame them. Whereas, like, I've never, like, watched a film, really, and been like, man, in that movie, fucking, like, like when we watched Scott Pilgrim, I wasn't like, what's-his-face is a bad actor. I'm like, he wasn't good for the role. Like, I would never have cast fucking what's-his-face as Scott Pilgrim. He's, like, somebody that probably shouldn't be leading a movie ever because he's, like, just... I can't ever see anybody ever getting behind him. But I can't say, like, if you're looking to cast him in, like, a teen comedy back in the day where he's just, like, a nerd or something, he'd be perfect. Like, it's all about casting, like...
I forget who said this, but I think it might have been Siskel, but he said the acting is usually the last thing that fails in a movie. I completely agree. Like, the actors are never an issue for me. It's always the writing is mainly the issue. Or, like... if you have a director that just doesn't understand shit, like... Yeah.
So, like, I put a note that, like, Steele was like, we don't appreciate your jokes, old man. I'm like, dude, McDermott is, like, the same age as Steele, it looks like. Like, actually, Steele has, like, gray hair in this movie, and McDermott doesn't, so what the fuck is he talking about? I'm pretty sure McDermott isn't dyeing his hair in the fucking apocalypse. I thought that was... I never really noticed that till on this watch where I was like, what? I mean, maybe he is older than him. Maybe they, like, all discuss their ages every day.
Maybe we're wrong and the script is terrible.
That's impossible. George Romero wrote it. Shoot that woman or you're dead, Steele. That scene is like a fucking... Every scene in this movie that, like, goes out of control or just has, like, a long speech is, like, a masterpiece. It's, like, so good. Yeah. It's, like... Yeah, like, this part where, like, 30 minutes in, you see how to control Rhodes is compared to his men. Where, like... he's, like, flipping out and stuff. And, he's essentially telling Sarah if she doesn't sit down, he's going to shoot her. And then, like, he tells Steele to shoot her, and Steele's like, bang, you're dead, like, kidding around. And then he, like, pulls out his gun and is like, if you don't shoot her, I'm going to kill you. And he's like, everybody, like...
He's not messing around.
Yeah, all the other soldiers are like, what the fuck? Like, and they, like, back up and shit, because they're like, holy fuck, he's going to have Steele shoot, this person. Like, what the fuck? So yeah, it's pretty out of control. But yeah, there's...
I also liked how in the commentary, George Romero meant he wanted to make a female lead for this movie to, like, make up for how, like, poor the women were, like, were treated in Night of the Living Dead.
Yeah,
which I thought was pretty awesome. But then they were like, yeah, this was before Sigourney Weaver and Alien, and I'm like, wait a minute, no, it's not.
Yeah, I specifically remember that because I think What's-Her-Face says that, and she's, like, totally trying to pump it up and stuff. I also think it's funny that in this movie,
polite to correct her.
I think it's, like, in this movie, or maybe Dawn's commentary, where, like, the woman says that, like, she didn't even, like, George hired her, and she lied to George and said she had acted before, and she never had.
Yeah.
And I was cracking up.
But she really never did again.
Yeah. But, like, in Night of the Living Dead, that was probably, like, the worst I've ever seen for, like, a woman, besides, like, a lot of, like, just shock horror movies where, like, the woman's, like, literally,
like, the crazy woman can't...
It's like
can't hold it together.
A Princess Peach that's, like, fucking in a tower somewhere, like, crying and shit. And then, like, in Dawn, she gets better, and she's even like, hey, I want you guys to teach me how to shoot and all this shit. But in this movie, it's like, she's legit, besides, like, Rhodes, she's, like, in charge for the most part. Like, Rhodes is only in charge because he has guns. Like, but yeah, there's this part where, like, Logan comes in late for the meeting, and he's like, Rhodes is talking about how he's running the monkey farm now, Frankenstein. He wants to know what the fuck you're doing with my time. And he's just like, Logan's just like, you know, I'm talking about, like, controlling them. And he's like, what the fuck are you even talking about? And then he kind of, like, lies to, like, you know, get them some more time. And, like, Sarah kind of fucks it up because, like, Logan's like, we're close, very close, a matter of weeks. And she's like, I don't think you can really tell. And he's just like, gives her this look like, like, you know, like, why would you say that? Because, like, he knows that, like, Captain Rhodes is pretty fucking out of control. You know what I mean? So, but he's also kind of an idiot because he's, like, chopping up the dead military guys and using them for, like, experiments after they're dead. But he's not, like, hiding the fucking uniforms, which I always thought was stupid. He was, like, careless as fuck. He's like, they'll never find out. And it's like, actually. But yeah, it's just that kind of stuff where, like, he says that they're gonna, like, leave, and he's like, where will you go? Because they're, like, outnumbering you at this point. Like, you don't have enough bullets to, like, blow the piss out of them and stuff like that. And he's like, pretty much he talks sense into him, and he's like, you gotta let him more time. I ain't saying how much, but a little. And it's like, you know what I mean? Just trying to, like, say what he can to, like, get them some more time and stuff. It's just like, dude, that's all you can do now that, like, this one... Because I think before this, Major Cooper dies, and, like, he was, like, the last person that was, like, you know, I guess, like, he was an asshole, but he wasn't as much of a crazy person as Rhodes. So, like, once he died, like, it's like, this shit goes south. So, we got a random hallway fight here, which I always thought was funny, where, like, Sarah's walking down the hall, and then, like, the fucking army guys just bust out of the fucking army barracks, and they're, like, all fucking wrestling for some reason. And it's just randomly right when she walks by. But I have to say the soundtrack in this movie is, like, one of the reasons that, like, it's not as bleak, you know, and making it a total downer, because it's so, like, it's just so good, like...
Yeah, but there's something, like, haunting about it. I can't quite explain how, why, but...
there's a lot of parts...
It's amazing.
Where, like this part where they go to, where, like, McDermott and John live together, the helicopter pilot and the radio guy, and, it starts off, like, really, really, like, upbeat and stuff, but as they start to take a turn more towards, like, depressing stuff, they bring in, like, a synth, like, moan and, like, an actual moan and stuff like that from the zombies.
Okay, that drove me crazy. Because, they're like, this place is one giant tombstone. And then, like, you hear a moan.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, if I was there and anyone, like, started yelling like that, I would be like, get out of here. Like, I don't want to hear any moans. So keep your voices down.
I mean, I think they, like, know that they're right next to him. At this point, it's like, yeah, because they were talking about how, like, they live away from everybody, and it's, like, not as safe, but, like,
yeah, that's an awesome scene because he's talking about,
like, he knows that they're there, but it's like,
kept down there of, like, and it's all at this point is totally meaningless.
Right.
Like,
exactly.
What's the purpose of anything anymore? And you're like, wow, this is dark.
Yeah. Yeah, it's probably, like, one of my favorite scenes in the movie because...
Yeah, me too.
How he just talks about, you know... Pretty much he says, like, you know, what they got down here is, like, records from, like, the top 100 companies, the Defense Department budget, negatives for all your favorite movies, like, just all this other stuff, like, censorship reports on, like, you know, anything that, like...
The stuff that you'd think was the most important things that, like, need to be saved.
But, like... At this point, like, who gives a shit? Because at this point, if you would ever want to even show a movie to somebody, whoever's going to see it, like, you know, it's everybody's a zombie except for a couple people, like, at this point. Yeah, and then she's like, well, fuck, what'll, you know, because, like, what I'm doing is all that's left to do, and he's just like, that's bullshit. You can do whatever you want. You can, you know, we can go... get some people together, have a community, like, start, you know, get some kids and fucking teach them, like, not to, like, give a fuck about this kind of useless shit, you know. just live your life of what you have left, because there probably won't be much left because of the zombies and stuff. Because she's been trying to figure out how to stop it and reverse it, where it's like, it's too late for that at this point. Like, but it's funny because he also, like, it's like they have, what's his name in the second one? Have, like, a speech where he talks about the zombies and stuff, and, like, why they are what they are, or, like, how it happened. And, like, John also, in this one, has, like, a whole thing where he talks about, like, the creator put a curse on everybody so that, like, because they were people, he didn't want to see people possibly, like, put, like, you know, blow up the earth, or, like, with a bomb, or, like, just to be like, hey, he's in charge and stuff. So it's like, you know, it's just another one of those, like, I don't ever want them to, like, definitively say why any of this started, because, like, there was all these different, like, things. Like, in the first one, they're like, space probe, this, that, and this, and, you know, in the second one, they're like, too much, you know, there's not enough room in hell, so that stuff starts happening. And then this one, it's like, you know, he even says, like, hey, if you want to put a reason to it, this is as good as any, because at this point, it doesn't really matter. It's not like, you know, it's going to change anything. But I just wouldn't ever want them to, like, definitively come out with some book and be like, this is what happened, and, you know, it was because of a virus, or it was because of this, because then all these different mystery things that are come up with that are, like, interesting, and, like, it's just, I don't know, it takes away the mystique of it. Because that's not even really the point. It's like, the point is, like, at this point, you're fucked, so I'm like, the point is, you're fucked. But I have to give a shout out to Sherman Howard as Bub. He's probably, like, to me, he, like, reminds me of, like, Steven in Dawn of the Dead. Like, when he becomes a zombie, like, he's so, it's like Lon Chaney style. He does so much without really doing anything. Yeah.
For sure. I agree. It's awesome.
A bunch of stupid decisions are made one after another at, like, the zombie wrangling thing. Like, the second time they go out there. And it was just like, I remember every time I watch that, I'm like, this is where shit goes south. Like, every time. It's just like, like.
And then from that point on, it's pretty much like a bloodbath for the rest of
the
movie.
It's just kind of, it's the catalyst that, like, sets everything off, and it's not even, like, something that anybody did. It's Miguel is holding the zombie, and he doesn't drop the thing. The thing, like, breaks out of the rotted, like harness that he's holding it in. Like, it rips free. And, like, for these people being so, like, trained as army people, they're, like, pretty inept. Because, like, one comes straight for a guy, and he just, like, it bites him. And I'm like, okay. And then that's when Steele starts calling Miguel, like, a racial slur.
Yeah. Be rough.
But yeah, like, they actually, Miguel gets bit, and they actually cut off his arm, which is, like, I think this is, like, the first time I'd seen that, like, in a zombie thing, to, like, cut somebody's arm off, like, before it possibly got infected, but you never find out if it worked or not, because he ends up, like, going up and releasing all the zombies, and then, like, hitting the button to come back down with all of them. So, like, you never know if he would have lived or not, but I think that's also what's nice about it, because it's, like, you don't know for sure if that would even work. You know what I mean? Like, it's another, dude, who knows?
That amputation is, like, the best amputation I've ever seen in a movie. It's like, it looks real.
Yeah.
That's all I can say.
Yeah, I think, and,
like, it doesn't go all the way through the first time, so they have to, like, press down to, get the machete to go through the bone. It's like, good lord, man, they thought of everything. They
knock him the fuck out with, like, a rock, and then, like, they start doing it, and it hurts, like, so much that he, like, fucking insta-wakes up, and he's like, Aah! And it's like,
then they have to burn it with a torch.
Yeah, to, like, cauterize it.
Yeah. Like,
yeah. One of my,
amazing.
The funniest lines in this movie, for me, is when they're, like, they put like what's his name, McDermott and Sarah in the this is after they like have killed a couple of people. They kill like Logan and they kill like the other scientists, and they're just gonna take the helicopter guy and like Steele is like beating him up and stuff, and he's like, we need his ass. Like fucking Rhodes says that. He's like, don't kill him, we need his ass. And I was like, what?
Great.
Okay. And then John ends up knocking out Rhodes, and like he takes his guns and like contemplates like taking his life as well, but he doesn't, which was like pretty fucking emotional, because you see like in his eyes he's like so pissed but like so sad because that one scientist guy gets killed and there was no reason for it, and he's just like, you know what I mean, like he's just like, what the fuck, and then he's like, you know what, fuck this, I gotta go. Yeah. Also, like, the part where, like, Sarah, like, just breaks down and crying is always, like, pretty emotional in this movie, because she's has it together throughout the whole movie, and then, like, all this shit happens, and then she just, like, starts crying and, like, is just, like, crying while hugging John. He's like, it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, it's a really good scene.
Bub is, like, yeah, like, the scene where he, like, salutes Rhodes for the first time, and the scene where he, like, somewhat says hello on the phone, and like, hello. Yeah, it's like, Jesus, hello. He says that, and I'm like, what? And then him listening to like music for the first time. He's like, you know, like, just like, I don't know. It's just like such a great scene, because it conveys what you like. You don't even have to. He doesn't even have to say anything, and you're like, oh, okay, yeah. This is something I don't think we've never talked about. This, I don't think, but like maybe we have, but not on the podcast ever, from what I remember. But like, I do remember hearing this either on a commentary or something, or like I'd read it somewhere and thought about it as well. But like Bub frees himself, and like he shows Logan his chain, and like he's sad when he realizes like he's dead. But like I said, like I think people have brought this up, but like when he's like shot, he gets like pelted with bullets like action style, and like jumps back. But like you never see like them shoot him in the head. So like, to me, like I always was thinking like, is there a scene like, I don't know, like at some point where like him and Bub are like together because Logan's a zombie? Because like, it's funny because there was actually somebody that, I think it was on one of the commentaries, it was like saying like, I could have sworn that like we filmed a scene where like that happened, and Romero I think was like, what? So like, I think maybe it's one of those Mandela effects where people, since they didn't see him get shot in the head, they assumed that he would just be back. So, I don't know. I mean, he could come back and just you never see it, because people come back as zombies at different rates. Like, what's-his-face turns into a zombie, like, instantly, fucking, like Roger, once he dies, but, like, some people, it takes a while, so... or he could have got shot in the head, possibly, randomly, and they just didn't show it, but... Yeah, I don't know. I always thought that, even from the first time I saw the movie, I was always like, you know, not that they would have to show it, but like I always thought like that could be a thing, you know, like.
Yeah. Did you notice there was a zombie with a cigar in his mouth?
I thought that, but I wasn't sure.
I rewound it to double check, and yes, I'm like, dude, that's a quality cigar to like hold up through the apocalypse.
Yeah.
And not have disintegrated.
Yeah, I never thought about that, but that is pretty funny. Or maybe, like, besides Bub, it's another zombie that's learned how to, like...
learn how to smoke cigars.
Yeah. So he gets new ones. I mean, they are in Florida, so maybe he could have gotten some Cubans.
True.
So, famous death, one of the guys gets his head torn off his body, and it stretches, and as it stretches, like, his vocal cords, like, stretch as he dies, and it goes up in, like, pitch. And it's, like, so fucked up. Like, I've never seen that before in a movie. It's, like...
I mean, that's
or
that's
sense.
about
It's
as
like,
hardcore
yeah.
gore as possible.
Yeah. And then like
nuts.
like I was saying, Rickles is laughing when he's getting killed.
He gets his face ripped off and like his eyes.
And and he's still laughing. It's like, and then like, this is the only part that was kind of like weird, because not weird, but like, it fits the movie, but it also kind of is not. It's like there's an 80s action movie guitar solo where like all these zombies are pouring in, which I always thought that was a little off for the rest of the soundtrack. But it's not like I was like, this is bad. It was just like very 80s, like, you know.
Yeah, and I always found it silly when Rhodes gets in that golf cart that goes like 50 miles an hour.
And it literally just goes up, and he starts like driving it through like tiny hallways.
Yeah, but like he could have run like twice as fast as
Yeah.
the thing was going.
And like all the dudes are like, Rhodes, you asshole. I'm like, dude, you could run right after him and you'd be fine.
Right.
They just stand there and don't do anything. But like, yeah, Bub shoots at Steel, and he's like, shit! And he's like, then he like gets bit, like Steel does, and he like does the sign of the cross and like puts the gun in his mouth and pulls the trigger. And his body, like, just falls down, which I was like, holy shit, dude. This is like, I
remember this
so
part
realistic.
Yeah, from the first time we saw it, because Ryan, Nate's brother, was there, and he like Steel was his favorite character, and he was like, "It's so amazing! Did you see when he was like pounding on that door? He was actually like putting dents into it. It's like that's a committed performance, right there."
Yeah, like trying to fucking like, yeah.
But that's awesome death.
Yeah. I was like, what can I say about Rhodes' death in this movie? It's one of the best satisfying bad guy deaths of all time.
Yeah,
it's like, I think like whatever I can see here, like really can't do it justice. You like have to watch this movie, but like.
But his final word is like classic Rhodes.
Yeah, that's
like,
true.
Even though he's getting ripped apart, he's still like cursing with his final breath.
Yeah.
Like cursing the zombies.
He calls like Bub, or tries to call him a fuck like 10 times, but he's like hurting, so he can't like complete it most times. Because like he does grab a gun, but like Bub comes around the corner and he shoots at him, and that's when he's like shit, like just like Steel. And then like as he's about to turn the corner, Bub like shoots him in the like arm, and then like he shoots him again in like another part, and then at the very end, right when he's about to like, I don't know what he was trying to do, because he's like, come on, you fuck. And I'm like, was there like a cannon behind that door originally or something? Like, because when he opens it, there are zombies there now, and he's like, ah! And he fucking, you know, fucking gets shot one more time, and then he just gets ripped apart. It's like, legit. But yeah.
Crazy.
They get away, and they're on an island, and it's like almost, it's almost like the ending that Dawn of the Dead kind of had, or would have had, because like at the end of that one they just say like, where are we gonna go, and they're like up, and they just go and fly away. And this one it's like they actually show that they made it to an island, so it's like, and like they're fishing and like chilling out and stuff.
Yeah,
so
cool. I like that final scene a lot.
I also like the two uncredited like songs that are on this. If Tomorrow Comes and The World Inside Your Eyes by Jim Blazer, John Harrison, and Sputsy Spiccarino. And it's like performed by like
good.
Modern Man.
80s.
It's like vocals performed by Sputsy and Delilah, like both for both of these. But yeah, it's like legit. It's like, I don't know. I think I actually used one of these in like that zombie campaign I ran one point. Like, I don't know. I've always liked them. But I actually have a couple trivia things here, because I said, fuck it, why not? This is our podcast. Some of this I didn't know, and some of this I did. I just wanted to talk about it. But like, the alarm sound like is the same one that's heard in The Thing, like the John Carpenter one. Which I was like, oh, fuck, I didn't know that. Like, that's awesome. But like, this is what I was talking about earlier with the headlines for the newspaper. So like, besides the dead walk, there's other ones that say Vice President declares state of emergency, whereabouts of President unknown, food supply dwindles, and man bites man. Like the man bites man one is like Simpsons style. It's like, Man bites dog. Greg Nicotero, who was makeup artist and actor in this movie, went on to perform multiple functions for The Walking Dead, which we talked about. This, like you were saying,
I saw him at the airport one time, and I was like, "Dude, that's awesome! There he is."
What'd he say? He said, "Dude, it's Matt from fucking Buddy Shots."
I didn't want to bother him, but he was holding like a tube, that was probably filled with like, really something really awesome, like art or designs for like makeup,
fleshlights,
special effects stuff. Or that.
Only 3 options. I wonder if it was maybe like posters for when he would go to a convention.
Possible.
So like George Romero, it says, like, had a great appreciation for like talent community in Philadelphia and Pittsburgh, and he utilized the same casting agency that he used for Dawn of the Dead, and specifically requested that all extras previously contacted for Dawn of the Dead be called back for Day of the Dead. Which is why many of the zombies that appear in this film may look familiar. This is also how Joseph Pilato, who appeared only briefly in the previous film, got his part in the main cast. Which I was like, holy shit, dude, that's
cool.
That's another thing to like about George Romero. He was just like, fuck it, dude, I want to like bring all these people back if they're able to and want to. Like,
yeah, I mean, they said it in the commentary, and it's like, he's a great leader, not because he's like a dictator, but because like he's a nice guy and treats everyone respectfully.
Right.
And Tom Savini in the commentary was like, we worked so hard, like 16-hour days, but we would have done anything for you, George. We loved it.
Right.
Like, yeah, that's the way it should be.
Yeah. That's yeah. I mean, that's the thing. They always say that you get more with like, what is it? Like you get more bees with like honey than you do vinegar, or I don't know. That's probably not it, but it's like, yeah. But like, yeah, we talked about that earlier. How like the original like budget was for $7 million, but like after like, he went ahead and did the movie. He wanted for 3.5 because he didn't want to compromise and not have it be unrated because of the gore and stuff. Like, but like, yeah, I like that he was like, fuck that. I don't care if I have to take less money. I want to make the movie I want to make. Like,
yep.
But like, apparently I forgot about this, but like Gorillaz like actually sampled several clips from both like this one and like Dawn of the Dead, like nice. For like some of their songs. And then this one this is the last one, but I actually found this, and I'm gonna read this off, and I want you to tell me what you think about this. But like, I could see this, but yeah. So like both actors that like played Captain Rhodes in the 2 versions of the Day of the Dead also appeared in both versions of Dawn of the Dead as police officers. In Dawn of the Dead, 1978, Joseph Pilato played officer at police dock before being Rhodes in the original Day of the Dead. In Dawn of the Dead, Ving Rhames played Kenneth, a cop, and in Day of the Dead, he played Rhodes. So the theory was specifically for like the 1978 one, is it like, since there's no real, realistically, I guess if you were to say there is time between like dawn and day as far as like 10 years or so or however long, and there's really no you really don't know how much time has passed, but like people were saying like, as a theory that like Rhodes could have been a cop in Dawn of the Dead and then like rose through the ranks to become a captain in the military at some point after being enlisted due to like the zombie outbreak, and he could have became like Rhodes in Day of the Dead after Dawn of the Dead. Like I always thought, I read that recently just like the other day and thought that was kind of an interesting thing. I don't think that was obviously like an official thing. Obviously I think it's just kind of a thing that people have noticed because he just so happened to be like, yeah, like a background guy in the first one, in that one scene, and then in this one it's like he's the main guy. But like, I don't know, I thought it was kind of interesting.
Yeah, the same thing happened with there's a small character in Diary of the Dead, like one of the, I think he's a cop, like pulls over the RV, is the main villain in Survival of the Dead. And it's like, is it the same character?
Right.
Kinda.
Right.
So yeah, it's an interesting fan theory.
And then also oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say in Dawn of the Dead, like he doesn't do too much. Like he's
Yeah.
in it.
He's like he's just like at the dock with like, a bunch of dudes that are going on a
I'm
boat.
not sure, I don't even know if he has any lines or not, but
Yeah, I don't know. He might have. Yeah, he might not. I remember specifically there's that one dude that's kind of like a dumbass. That's like,
got any cigarettes?
yeah. But like, this specifically.
Where are we going? Straight up.
Yeah, he's like,
Oh.
yeah, it's like, huh? Specifically reminds me of Tom Paris in Star Trek. Whereas in Star Trek Next Generation, he's like court-martialed, like the same guy, and it's essentially the same person. And they start off Voyager with Tom Paris in the exact same spot that guy was, but it's not supposed to be the same guy, even though it's the same character. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I think it's kind of weird that they did that in Star Trek. That was just kind of a random thought I had. Speaking of characters that probably aren't related, but are essentially, they're played by the same actor, but they are essentially the same character, but not officially. Like, I don't think that happens too often, but it's always weird when that happens. So, I don't know. What else do you have to say about this film? But it's a fucking classic. Go.
It's great.
Pick up the film.
I think we nailed it. My final note will be about. So you mentioned you wish you would have been able to go to a convention with some of the cast members, and I was lucky enough to do that in college. But we'll talk about that tomorrow.
Nice. I was actually gonna, if you were gonna bring it up, I was gonna be like, "Yep, we're gonna have that recorded for the podcast tomorrow."
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, this has been Mike, and
It's me, Matt.
yeah, and we were just talking about Day of the Dead. Oh, so this was my pick. So do you have your pick for next Thursday?
I do.
Okay.
And we're going to stay kind of in the horror genre, but we're going to go with something that I think is like, it goes into so bad it's good territory, which is King Kong Lives from 1986.
Okay.
I think it's going to be a lot of fun to talk about.
King Kong Lives. I don't know. It's been so long. I don't know if it's like, cool. So, King Kong, when did that movie come out?
1986.
Okay, so 1986. Hey, 1 year after this film came out, so we'll see if there's any correlation. There isn't. But, yeah. We will talk to you guys. We'll be live next Thursday, but the next time that we'll have a podcast up will probably be like Monday or Tuesday, because I'll try to edit the one that we're recording tomorrow on the way up to Chicago on getting back. And that one will be like, we'll be talking about all kinds of convention related stuff and horror in general. So we'll see you guys later. I think this has been our longest podcast yet, but I think it was worth it because it's Day of the Dead.
Yep.
So
Talk to you next time.
thank you. I'll see you later.
See ya.